Hi, everybody. Penn here with Yoga Sizes. Welcome to the podcast and the YouTube channel. I'm thrilled to have Laura Fowler-Massie here today. She has been teaching Hatha Yoga and Yoga Nidra for a while, and she's currently working on this whole online format of her in-person yoga teacher training for educators working with children to calm them down. And she also does the certification is called Radiant Children's Yoga.
No, it's actually certification is called Calm Kids Yoga.
Okay, I'm sorry. Calm Kids Yoga. And she actually has a bachelor's degree in psychology and a master's degree in education, is college education. And I actually also graduated with a bachelor's degree in psychology. I work with children and the whole Yoga Nidra, because when I learned meditation and Yoga Nidra, everybody pronounced it Yoga Nidra. But recently, somebody in one of the programs that I was looking at, she calls it Yoga Nidra. So now I'm like, because of her, I'm like, I'm confused. Like, how do you pronounce it? Because for years I've been hearing a Yoga Nidra, and then all of a sudden somebody says Yoga Nidra.
Yeah, it's funny about pronunciation. I do pronounce it Yoga Nidra myself, and that is predominantly the pronunciation that I hear and that people tend to be using out there. It's a translation, of course, from Sanskrit, so we always have a little bit of different accents that are applied to words, so it can be a bit tricky. So my interest in yoga, well, I came to yoga many years ago, long time ago. As a very young woman, I was very interested I was just interested in the movement practice and in the practice of in the element also of a sort of the spiritual practice, the meditative practice. So it all kind of evolved for me over the years. I initially took my Hatha teacher training back in 2007. And then I've taken a number of trainings since then, studied, like you said, Yoga Nidra. So really enjoy sharing that practice with people, particularly people who are a little bit intimidated about the strong physical practice. It's a way that they can tune into their body and enjoy some meditation without having to feel too intimidated about some of the other aspects of yoga. It's very simple and everybody can do it. So that's one of the reasons I love to share that practice. In terms of the Calm Kids Yoga teacher training that I'm doing for early childhood educators, my background is also in early childhood education. I worked in that sector in childcare and in family resource programs for over 30 years. And I'm a college professor. I teach child development. So for me, taking child development and taking yoga and bringing them together, and then really sharing and empowering the benefits of yoga, both with the teachers, because it's a very stressful job, and learning how to calm down and move their bodies and use breath, but also for the children, and how can they share that with the children. So that's a part of the whole practice of yoga that I feel is really, really important. So I'm kind of just bringing together all of my experience teaching adults, both in the college classroom and in the yoga studio, and then bringing that together with the children as well. So it all kind of comes full circle after a while.
That's awesome. So like when you're working with educators and teaching them how to work with children, what would you suggest, like, as the first thing they do if they had no experience in doing this? And some children are more difficult to work with than others. And how long would it, like, I mean, everybody's different, right? How long would it take for a child to kind of basically get used to adapt to this whole type of new thing that they're learning?
Well, I think it's really important that educators understand that it needs to be really fun for children. We don't teach a children's yoga class the way we would teach an adult yoga class. There's just no way. Young children just aren't going to respond to that. So one of the ways, the first things I try to tell educators is you're going to weave little aspects of yoga throughout the day. So you're going to teach little calming breaths, you know, some pranayama. You're going to teach some fun poses, keeping it very playful. You're going to use storybooks that have animals in it, and then maybe you're going to pretend to use your body in those animal shapes. And so I would initially really invite the educators to play with the children and have fun with it, introduce it. Don't spend too much time on it, because too much time the children will become disengaged. They won't like it. So that's really the biggest takeaway. Understanding exactly where your children are in their development, you know, and if they have a very, you know, if they're a 3 or 4 year old, they have a short attention span. So remember, you're going to teach something really short. It's going to be really fun. And then you're going to repeat it different times throughout the day, different times throughout the week, until the children learn it. And as they learn more and more, then you can build on that. And then you can make your experiences a little bit longer. And then you can invite lots of movement, get the children's bodies moving. And then once they've really moved their bodies, then they can be ready to calm down and maybe do some guided meditation. I use a lot of really nice stories that I tell the children. So in the sense of the shavasana, or the final relaxation, I would maybe do a guided meditation with a short story that's appropriate for the children at that age, obviously.
Okay, so yeah, definitely keep the time short. And also, from just learning the traditional Hatha yoga for adults is definitely totally different than working with children's, because you gotta, for the traditional ones for kids, it would be just too boring, you know, because they gotta have some sort of animals, and it's also part of their learning process. As an occupational therapist and also yoga teacher, I kind of try to incorporate like letters with associating with the animals, and also the poses, so they can integrate everything all together, make it occupational based, fun, like you said, play. So what would you say for some suggestions for educators that think they're not creative in terms of like making it fun, and like kind of, you know, sometimes you have to do it out of the moment, like depending on how the kids is reacting, you might plan this session out this way, but then when you're actually working with this child, it might be completely different. And then what kind of suggestions or like ideas or tips that you would suggest for people to just come up with, like on the spot ideas or things to do with the child when the child refuses to do the thing that you plan?
Yeah, so I think that I used to refer to these as, you know, your back pocket ideas, the things you have in your back pocket that you can just pull out. So what I would do is, and I do have some, I've prepared some just like 1-page sheets of quick, easy little poses you can do with the children. I'd print those up and stick them on the wall somewhere so that the children can see them. You can just play with them, say, hey, let's try this. Also, using music. There's a lot of really fun music available. And so introducing that, you know, playing a fun game, like you put the music on, and then when you stop the music, everybody has to freeze and make some kind of a pose, you know, so they're going to be a warrior. And then the next one, they're going to be a butterfly. And then the next one, they're going to be a frog. And so you can keep it very, very simple. It's very fun and very action oriented, particularly at the beginning. Once the children learn it, then you can add other elements in, but definitely keep it fun and keep it very physical. And then if you notice it really, really isn't working, then you change. The other piece that I think is really fun is to use very simple little props. So for example, if you want to do some breath work with your children, you don't even need anything. You can just use your finger and pretend you're blowing up bubbles, you know, and do that. Another thing is I've chosen, you know, like to give each child a really colorful feather, for example, and then they can blow gently on the feather, you know, and how gentle can you be, and these kinds of things. So keeping things really simple and really short and fun.
And that's a great idea. So when you use different things for the breathing and let them visualize it. I also just recently got a few pinwheels so that they can actually do a fine motor. You can get them involved too. Like prior to doing that, let them make the pinwheels themselves, and then they can blow the pinwheels, and with also with bubbles. And
Exactly.
which one is more common? Do you think people use like the actual poses, people doing the physical poses on like cards, or the instructor demonstrating the poses? Or do you recommend those illustrated poses with like animals, or with just illustrated characters of kids is better?
I think that it depends on the age of your children. I think if your children are very young, so let's say like the 3 and 4-year-old children, I think you want to use a few things. You want to have a picture. So I do like the cards that you can get, and there's a variety out there that you can get to show the children, but also you need to demonstrate it as well. So they need to be able to see you do it. They need to be able to try it and feel it in their own body. They need to be able to see a picture, and they need to be able, of course, to practice. So repetition. So introducing it in lots of fun ways at group time, at circle time, at their, maybe if you have a little, a gross motor activity time scheduled into your day, you know, so you're going to introduce these things back and forth different times in the day. But I would suggest using you know, a variety of things to help the children to understand. We know that when the children do it with their own bodies, they are going to feel it, just like adults do. And then they're going to have a deeper understanding. They're going to learn that quicker. So I would suggest that you're going to do a variety of different things. Yeah.
Well, since you mentioned that, I kind of brought 2 questions in one. One is really not a question, but like in terms of, you know, scheduling the actual yoga sessions in the schedule, so that it's consistent and they know, oh, at this time is coming. That's was part of my schedule. And another thing is we can even add the whole mindfulness, like with anything that we do in terms of like eating our food and just engaging with others, walking in the hallway, just the awareness. And also by scheduling those sessions in, they're just more likely to be mindful. It's like almost automatic, you know, kind of just, they're all linked together, right? And
Absolutely.
another thing is in terms of the whole age. You mentioned 3 or 4. The other day I asked in like a yoga group, I said, if you have children, when do you start teaching them yoga? Some say they won't be ready until they're 21. And
Oh, my
because of
goodness.
brain development. And some say, oh, you could just start as soon as the pretty much the child is born. You can just kind of guide them, move their limbs, and you can even do practice yoga yourself, and they can watch and they're learning from that. So people have like really wide range of knowledge, and also how they feel about when they should start teaching their children yoga. So when do you think is the best time to start teaching?
Well, thanks for asking that, because I think it's a really important thing. I think that people, first of all, if you're not comfortable to share that and teach it with your children, then maybe you shouldn't necessarily be doing that. But my opinion is that if you are comfortable, then you really want to look at where are the children in their development. Absolutely. I also am an infant massage instructor. I teach parents how to do infant massage with very, very like babies. And really, there's no reason why you can't be doing really simple movements with your children, playing with your children, interacting, having that lovely connection and time that you're focused on each other together. That's really yoga with babies, and it's fantastic. So as far as I'm concerned, I think you can start it, if you're comfortable doing that, you can start it as young as you like. The big focus, an important thing to remember is not to put pressure on the children. In adult classes, we like to make sure that people are moving into the postures correctly, and there's, we work on alignment and we care about those sorts of things. With the children, we want to be much more playful. We don't want to put pressure on them in the sense that they're going to get it wrong, and make them feel bad. Oh, you did that wrong. No, we don't want to do that. So that's really important. Keep it fun and playful, and then using your words. Oh, well, why don't you try it this way? If you'd like the child to change their movement, why don't you try it this way? Oh, can I see you lift your leg that way, or whatever, and making sure that we are using language and approaching it in a very loving and supportive way, and meeting the children where they are in their development, not expecting them to do something that that a 10-year-old should do when they're only a 4-year-old. So that's really a very, very important piece. But in my opinion, children love yoga, little children. I mean, I do yoga with 3-year-olds, and once they learn it and it's fun and it's playful, and we keep our sessions really short, they love it. It's fun. Kids love to move their bodies. I use little like beanie babies and stuffed animals that we pretend with, and children love it. So that's my feeling.
Yeah. And also to see if they're ready. Like I remember my baby, she's 2 now. When I just, at the beginning, I was like, oh, I probably shouldn't practice because I gotta, pay attention to her. And if I practice it, but then I just started doing that as she's around instead of making up excuses.
Yes.
And then she started just learning from me as I'm doing the practices, just looking at me, although I wasn't teaching her directly, but she was learning. And now before she goes to bed, she basically is reminding me, we gotta do yoga, and she's the one that rolls out the mat, and so she's kind of used to it.
Oh, and, that's lovely.
Sometimes you just gotta do it yourself just to get them going.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you mentioned infant massage. It's funny because after she gets a bath, she loves baths, and my husband will give her a massage.
Yes.
And sometimes I would take over for the massage part with lotion, and she tells me, you have to do it this way, because she likes the way that her dad does it. And last night, she was so comfortable and so tired, she ended up just passing out as he was massaging her. So please, can you share more about the whole infant massage and what are like some techniques that they like?
Oh, excellent. Yes, absolutely. The wonderful thing about infant massage or massage with young children is that we know that that connection of physical touch, right? Of skin to skin, we know how good that is for actually for brain development in children, and that connection in terms of bonding between, parent and child. Or caregiver and child. So really important, and just even really simple techniques, even if you don't know much about what to do, even just doing like massaging the child's hands and gently touching each and finger, and doing, like you said, gentle massages down the arms or on the legs, whatever the child likes. You need to be very respectful, of course. And what happens when we do this is actually we're allowing the child's body to relax. So we're helping them in terms of their nervous system to move from a more heightened state of arousal, kind of that more fight or flight type of place, to a calmer place. And you actually are creating this calm in their central nervous system. And so when you say your daughter just fell asleep after, because that's what happened, and it's just so wonderful. She felt safe, she felt loved, and her whole body was able to relax and go off to sleep. So of course, don't we want this for all of our children? Now, it's not always that easy, but again, if it's something that you wanted to build into your practice, I would recommend you just start with, first of all, you just can teach them themselves what to do with their hands, and then you can take over and do gentle hand massages, and even something as simple as that. can help them to begin to relax. So you don't even have to really know much about what to do. Just keeping it simple and having that connection is very powerful. Mm-hmm.
Especially at a very young age, they learn really fast. So the other day, she just had some lotion on her hand and just grabbed my hand and she started massaging me, like doing all the techniques. I was like, whoa, she actually knows what she's doing. So it's really interesting how they pick up, especially when it comes to sensory and all the different sensory stimuli, like everything comes together.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's talk about the programs that you have currently in person and the sessions that you do, the private, group, or any other type style of teaching that you do, and also how you're going to in the process of transitioning to online as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So right now, currently, I teach typically I guess three, but two main types of classes in person, in studio. I teach at two local studios where I live, and I also have a home studio that I teach private yoga in as well. So one of them, I call it the power of slow. It's a slow mindful yoga. So this is more of a gentle yoga. It comes from a training I've taken in the subtle yoga training. I studied with somebody in the US, and it's what that approach is taking traditional Hatha training and bringing it together with what we know now about current neuroscience and neuroplasticity and what's happening in the brain when we are doing certain breathing techniques and when we're doing certain movements and certain flows. So I like to talk about it as it's bringing the classical ancient practice together with modern science and bringing them together. So it's really powerful. And this slow mindful approach that I'm teaching is accessible for people who may be recovering from, like concussions or other kinds of injuries, or maybe have maybe some mobility issues. It can be very helpful for that because it's quite gentle, but it's very powerful as well. So I don't want people think, oh, well, that's for people who can't do like real yoga or something like that, because it's not the case. The intention of doing it slowly is because when we do it slowly, then we actually are allowing the brain to fully integrate what's happening. We do a lot of bilateral and crossing the midline and things like that, which are very important for brain development, for strengthening neural pathways, and for improving a focus, memory, concentration, all of these things. So it's a very powerful practice, but yet very accessible. So I teach that publicly in a couple of the studios, as well as privately, if people are interested in that. And then I also teach a more traditional kind of Hatha flow class, which incorporates many of these ideas, of course, but it's a more of a, I would say, like more of an intermediate class. So you would want to have, beginners can come if you're relatively able-bodied and fit. You certainly could do a lot of this practice. It's not a hard, strong practice, but there's a lot of flow and movement. We move, through the entire practice. All of my classes are an hour and a half long. So they do incorporate a centering beginning part where we really ground into the space and into our bodies and try and set the outside world away for a little while. And then we move through the practice, and then we have quite in the Shavasana, the final relaxation, perhaps I will do a body scan or some elements of my Yoga Nidra training, and I would bring that in there as well. So that's really what I'm doing in terms of my work with adults. And like I said, I do it in person at a couple of local studios and also privately in my own home studio. And I am looking to put these teachings online as well. That's still in development at this time, but hopefully I'll be getting that up and running shortly.
That's awesome. A couple of questions following what you said in terms of just your routine of like daily routine, preparing yourself for these classes and just get the day going. What are some of the things that you do like in the mornings and throughout the day?
Right. Yeah. So of course we know it's really easy, particularly for yoga teachers, to get so caught up in their teaching that sometimes their own practice gets a little bit sidelined. So I have to be very careful and mindful of that. So I do have a daily meditation practice where I incorporate, and I try to do that first thing in the morning. Because I feel like that's the time that's most available. I am an early riser, fortunately, so I try to get up either just before sunrise or around sunrise and take advantage of that time in the day. And so I try to have a meditation each morning. And that can look different. Sometimes it's just a seated meditation. Sometimes I use mantra and chant. So it depends. Sometimes I will use a guided meditation that I have, pre-recorded or something like that. So it depends on how I feel. I also have a daily gratitude practice. I use a journal and I write my thoughts in the journal, and I like to acknowledge, take the time to acknowledge the good things that I have in my life and the good things that we enjoy in this world, even very simple little things. And then of course the asana practice, so the physical practice, and that can look different too. Sometimes it'll be a full, long practice, and sometimes it'll just be a short 15-minute practice, depending on what's happening in my day. So that's really important. And then I do try to incorporate a few other elements as well, like I like to do in terms of that idea of massage, self-massage. So I like to use nice oils and do some self-massage, particularly hands, face, and feet before bedtime. So that sort of comes from the study of Ayurveda. We know that this is, and into the scalp as well, really good. And that also is, it's a self-care practice. Very, very good for calming the nervous system at the end of the day. Feels good for your skin, all that great stuff. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, Ayurveda, the whole oil thing. So what are some of the common oils recommended for massage?
Okay, so that's a good point. So when I took my infant massage teacher training, or instructor training, it was recommended for the babies, for the children, to use grapeseed oil. So this is just it's an edible oil that is it's easy to absorb and has very few allergic reactions. Of course, if you're using any oil on children, you want to be sure you know about any allergies, of course, right? So grapeseed oil is what's recommended for children. The other thing for adults, personally, I like coconut oil. So I use a really high quality organic coconut oil that I buy at the grocery store, actually. So it's not the hard one. It's actually a liquefied one that I buy, but you're not using very much of it. So if you pay $8 for a jar or a bottle of it, it will last you a very, very long time. So I use that. But the other one is a sesame oil is also very nice as well. But there, you want to be careful with allergies there. And avocado oil is another one that gets a little pricey, but it's another one. So there is a variety of oils. A lot of times it's a personal preference. Some oils are more cooling, some oils are more heating. So depending on what you are feeling or what is best for your body, you can decide which is going to be best. For myself, I have to say, I love coconut oil. That's what I use. And sometimes I'll put a little bit of essential oil into it. Like I'll make a little small bottle. I'll put a little bit of lavender in that. And then I'll use that for my hands and my face and my feet before bedtime. It has a very a beautiful calming, effect, and it smells terrific. So
That sounds good.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. I see you have books in the background. So what are some of the books you recommend?
Oh my goodness, I have a lot of books. It's true. It depends on what you're looking for, of course, because there is a lot out there. There's so much out there, as you know. So let me see. I like, from a yoga teacher's point of view, working with adults, I really like anything by Desikachar. That's traditional Hatha yoga. There's a really nice, there's some very nice books that help teaching all about yoga and about sequencing and about benefits of specific postures and sequencing. So certainly I like that tradition. In terms of philosophy, I like the translation by Swami Satchidananda, his Yoga Sutras translation and commentary. I also really like, I don't have, oh yes, it's called True Yoga by Jenny Lee. She's American. And then another one here, this is another one that I'm reading. It's called Breathing Love. It's called Meditation in Action, also by Jenny Lee. And I really like her writing because it's very practical. It's very like modern day accessible, because some of the more ancient, as you know, can be a little more esoteric, a little bit more difficult to digest, whereas some of the more modern translations are helpful as well.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank you so much. I haven't heard about the author and the book yet. I'm gonna have to check it out.
Okay.
So how do people find you on social media, and how can they reach out to you for your services and programs?
Okay, perfect, great, thanks. So I have a couple of websites. My main website is yogachelsea.ca. I live in a town called Chelsea, and so I named my yoga practice or my yoga business after where I live. And then the other one website is calmkidsyoga.ca. And then on Facebook, I have a couple of pages. So I have Yoga Chelsea has a page on Facebook, and also Calm Kids Yoga has a page on Facebook. And also, I have a private group that I recently started, Calm Kids Yoga for Early Childhood Educators. So what I'm doing there is I'm offering, if you join the group, I'm offering up lots of free tips. I make handouts for teachers to have, they can use with their kids. I do like little live stream demos and that kind of thing there. So if people are interested, they can go to Calm Kids Yoga for Early Childhood Educators, and they'll find me, and then they can join my group. And
awesome. All right, so I'll share those links in the description. And you said, is there like people go for trying out your program or going to your studio? You said, is there like a 5 or 10% discount or something?
Well, if people were interested in joining me for some private yoga, I sell private yoga sessions in groups of a package of 4, because I feel like, in order to really make that connection, you need to have like a one-on-one private session. You really need 4 classes. So certainly if people were interested in signing up and they had listened, here to our conversation, they can mention that to me, and I certainly could offer them a 10% discount on the price of a package of private yoga, 4 classes, private yoga. That would be great. It'd be my honor.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I got to check out some of the resources you mentioned, and thank you for sharing with us.
Oh, thank you. It's my pleasure. Thanks for having this conversation with me. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.